Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to another video. I hope you've been doing great. Today, I wanted to make a video for the people who find themselves in an environment that does not fit their ideal version of themselves. An environment that perhaps pushes them to be more tempted into certain habits, into certain things that they don't really want to be doing. Or perhaps an environment that simply just fucks you over constantly. And you know what? I've been there, mate. I've been in environments that are not ideal for myself and that were not ideal to my own growth. For example, a few years back, I used to live in a house while I was just getting started on self-improvement and really improving myself. I was living in a house with basically other three guys that were pretty much sure, they did go and work out here and there, but mostly they were drunks. They were just going out constantly, drinking, smoking, weed, drugs, all of this shit here. And there was also my ex-girlfriend after we were already broken up. So this environment was, as you can imagine, not the most ideal of things. But the thing is, very often your environments are not always going to be optimal to your growth. And you know what? I actually think that that's a good thing. I think that if your environment is not what you want it to be, that is a massive opportunity to really start improving yourself. Because if your environment is not the most ideal, the only option that you have is to first push yourself even harder, to push yourself beyond what you can imagine, beyond what you think is possible, in order to get out of that environment. At the end of the day, do you have any other choice? If you find yourself in an environment, in a house, in a country, in a situation, in a relationship that is not good for you and is pushing you down a bad road, if you really want to improve yourself, do you have any other choice other than just pushing and going full throttle on yourself, improving yourself and saying no to fucking everything else? And most importantly, the thing that you have to do is be careful on not becoming your environment. Be careful on not becoming what you have around you, especially when it is not the optimal thing that you wish it to be. And you know what? Again, I've been there as well, because many times when I was improving myself and when I'm still improving myself to this day, I see a lot of people around me maybe enjoying their life a little bit more, drinking, partying, going on hookups, taking drugs and doing all of these things here. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I do wish I also could be doing that, but not because I want to indulge into the things, just because they seem to have so much fun. And I still question it to this day, and I'm like, if they do it, why can't I? And then that question sits in my head for a little bit longer, and I'm like, well, if I were to do the thing that everyone else around me does, would I end up any different than them? Not particularly. I mean, if you take a broke man's advice, you're gonna end up broke. And by letting that question sit in my head for a little bit longer, all the time, really, it happens very, very often, I start to question it, and I start to think about the fact that I don't particularly want to be like them. I might think that I want to be in the same situation as them, but that's just because I feel left out. Because the worst part of trying to not become your environment is the fact that when you start to really improve yourself, when you start to really put yourself first, put the things that really benefit you first and make your life better instead of the things that everyone else around you does, is you feel left out. And no one really wants to feel left out, especially if it's from a social group. Even if they're not necessarily your friends, they're just people that you see around you. You don't want to always feel left out up until you actually start to see some real progress and some real difference, and you have a real point of reference to what you want to be, to who you want to become. Like I said, I still ask myself that question: if they do it, why can't I? And then I sit on that question for a little bit longer, and I start to think, you know what? I've also been down that road, and I know exactly how it feels. I know exactly that, especially when you're looking at people in environments of getting drunk, partying, taking drugs, hookups, and all of this stuff here. It might seem fun from the outside, but I've been there, and I know that, yeah, it seems fun from the outside, but inside it feels like shit. I hated how it felt. And so then I look at myself, well, metaphorically speaking, looking at myself, I look at myself in my own head and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that I'm doing things differently than the environment around me. I'm glad that I'm doing things differently than the people around me, because by doing things differently, I'm gonna end up in the complete opposite direction of where the majority of the people are. I can't really promise myself that it's gonna be the best case scenario, that on the opposite side there is everything, and I mean literally everything that I ever wanted. Some things might not be ideal still. The environment in future might still not be the best. There could always be better in a sense. But I know that at least it won't be like that. And that's the message that I wanted to share to you today. To push yourself even harder, to focus on yourself even more, to avoid becoming your environment. Because I know how easy it is to sort of feel left out and to say, if they do it, why can't I? And then you fall back into the things that you weren't supposed to do. I know how easy and how tempting it is. But if you really want to start to see progress in your life and you really care about your future, you care about your purpose, you care about your future family, you're gonna have to put yourself first, and you're gonna have to make sacrifices in life. And most importantly, you're gonna have to have a reference point of what you do not want to become like. Sure, having mentors, having sort of people that you look up to is great, don't get me wrong. But I think what's even more important is having a reference point of what you don't want to become like. Because I think that gives you a much bigger drive to be that kind of person that you really want to be, and not who you don't want to be like. So that might be anyone. That might be some of your friends who are spending all of their time playing video games, jacking off, drinking, taking drugs, smoking, blah blah blah, and this and that. So if you don't want to become like them, simply just walk in the opposite direction. Don't be afraid to be left out. Don't be afraid to be left on your own. As you start to really improve yourself, as you start to really work on not becoming the environment that is around you, as you start to work towards building a much better environment and achieving your goals in order to build that environment, you're gonna feel left out. You're gonna feel left out from a lot of things, because a lot of the times you will see people doing things that you wish you could do. And even if there were certain good friends, you know, but if they were good friends, they would understand. But a lot of times you would have certain people in your life, and maybe they'll invite you and they'll be like, let's go get some food and have some drinks. And you'll be like, you know, I could, but I'm on a much bigger mission nowadays. And being on that mission will be the most important thing that you can do for yourself. The most important thing that you can do for yourself is being on a mission to become the best version of yourself, to create the best environment for yourself, and to have the best quality of life for yourself, to do things that you really want to do, because it's your fucking life and you should choose how to live it. And if other people don't like it, fuck them. They simply don't fit into your life. So with that said, I hope you found the video helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow with a new video, mate.